Is the Python Commandos Warbond S tier? Let's go ahead and find out. We'll begin with the CQC9 defoliation tool, a chainsaw that surprised me something serious. It's a melee support weapon, but you can do some wild stuff, and there's built-in factors that I didn't understand initially. So you start off with a chainsaw, you swing through the air, and the moment you make contact with the ground, trees, spore spewers, and other structures you can damage, and enemies, you then begin to saw into them, starting off at medium pin and scaling all the way to heavy pin, if not anti-tank. I say that because you can damage a tank from the sidewall, and a factor strider can get killed if you're hitting it from the top of its head. Both of those require anti-tank to damage, but maybe you're simply so close you're going through the hitbox and bypassing it. Either way, it's freaking sick. When damaging enemies with the proper level, based on their overall size, you actually stun them. So for hunters, warriors, wilbers, commanders, so on and so forth, hitting them initially incapacitates them, stuns them. So you don't need to take a stun grenade or urchin grenade to fend off those enemies. And it even works on hulks, but it has to scale to heavy pin to initiate the incapacitation or stun. So that takes a little bit of time. But still, you don't rely on crowd control to get value from the weapon. It is two-handed, meaning you cannot take any of the ballistic shields and directional shields and have them equipped while running at enemies. But in most cases, even using a melee weapon means that you're putting the shield down to take damage anyway. And with a chainsaw, you can be sitting there mowing an enemy for a while. And that being said, when hitting an enemy such as a charger's leg, once you start the actual chainsaw damage portion, you may want to turn your character so that way the chainsaw blade is stuck in them longer, dealing more damage and maintaining the scaling of heavy pin longer. One of the coolest things to find out is you can use a chainsaw with hover pack and attack while in the air, which you couldn't do previously using other melee weapons. Maybe it changed, but the chainsaw can rip and tear through the limb or the joint on harvesters, or even the face. So far, the joint is the fastest time to kill. Initially, I didn't think it was that good at chaff clear, but so far on level 7 difficulty for the bugs, you can fend off entire bug breaches by simply hitting something and then moving your camera so that way the blade is moving through the air and hitting more enemies, cleaving them. So even though it has a short range of attack, it can still get a lot of value. Now, everything I've said so far is while using armor that gives you a 100% increased melee damage. On these War Striders, I'm not using the double melee damage armor, but I do want to point out that you probably want to bring CC just in case you have multiple enemies. We're not playing Dark Souls. There's a lot more than just one dude you're focusing on, and if that's the case, they can pack you up with the swiftness. Also, there's an animation to pull your weapon out and put it away. Keep that in mind if you're diving away from an enemy and want to stim. It'll take longer than you expect, and that can be the make or break in your survival. DBS 2 Double Freedom. When Doomslayer meets Helldivers 2, the strongest shotgun the game has to offer so far. 840 damage, medium pin, 2 shell capacity because it's double barrel, and 2 firing modes. Single shot and volley. Volley fires both shells at the exact same time. The damage output you have with this weapon right here is just a ton of fun for shotguns. Taking out harvesters in roughly 6 shells, meat bobs in 3 to 4 shells, Bile Titans, 12 shells, Factor Striders, around 8-10 shells, and you can one-shot Alpha Commanders from what one might call Narnia. A good distance. It's just a blast. It isn't in the Warbond, it's a superstore item. We call that Warbond adjacent. Guard Dog Hot Dog, the flying flamethrower Glazy Gladiator, lighting folks on fire, and solo killing large enemies, large dudes. Harvesters, Chargers, Charger Behemoths, Hulks, War Striders. This thing right here is putting in that work, and a big benefit is it gets the 25% extra fire damage ship module bonus because it's a support weapon, and it can get close to enemies and hit them with the direct fire blast. That's what does a ton of damage. That's why you can kill tanks in a very quick time frame. Devs, don't nerf that, please. Not cool if you do, but this is one thing that it gets the benefit of, is getting close. It's flying around. It's just hovering and hitting enemies. And it's even insane at the horde clear because you have fire damage hitting the ground and enemies walk through it. Now, it won't do the same thing as a gas dog rover where it hits an enemy once and walks away unless the fire damage kill them. In this case, it tends to focus them until they die. So it will waste more fuel in that sense, but so far I've had a blast using it. You can be laying down next to a patrol, the guard dog takes aggro and kills all the enemies. And once it goes back to your backpack, then they know you exist. But until that point, it's the tank and the DPS. You can also stick behind a wall and have it kill pretty much an entire outpost, depending on the size. This was a rather small one. Weenie Hut Juniorville, but still. 1-2 AR. They gave us a noob tube. 95 damage, light armor pin, 40 rounds per magazine with 6 spare magazines, and an underbarrel grenade launcher that can hold a total of 4 grenades. 1 in the tube itself, and 3 spares. It's a good AR, and having the underbarrel grenade gives you freedom in your kit to bring a bunch of other stuff, because now you can close bug nests, fabricators, dropships, and just add a bit more damage to the enemies you're facing. That being said, it has 29 ergonomics and no real meaningful customization. You can change the scopes if you really want to, and only the muzzles. So scopes and muzzles, all you can do. You also have the fact of its uniqueness is the grenade launcher. That means we likely won't be getting any grenade launchers for weapon customization on the other primary assault rifles. I'm a bit let down at that potential reality. In the current case, the weapon itself is seemingly in need of more ammunition. Some folks are saying extra magazines and even extra grenades. I'm not a super mega fan of assault rifles in the game currently, so I don't have too many horses in the race. I will say I wish the grenade launcher had unique qualities. Shooting incendiary grenades, shooting gas grenades. You could change the ammunition there. Maybe in the future. As it is, it's just a good AR. M1000 Maxigun, a support weapon minigun that has 750 rounds, 1300 to 1500 RPM, medium pin, and a few other qualities I'll explain in a moment. But first, a short story. Ever since the HMG got released, folks have been fantasizing and dreaming of the next evolution, a minigun. But I don't believe they're expecting it to come in the way that this one did. Even though it's fun to shoot, it's not particularly fun to aim and isn't very effective. 2 other factors that are very important in the equation of making guns good, overall enjoyable. Now, part of the downsides are the number of them. You've got this whole list, which keep in mind are all affecting you every time you fire the weapon. Wind up, wind down animation. You cannot move while shooting. You're stuck in place. You cannot dive while shooting. If you do so, you just essentially belly flop where you're at, and that means you can't avoid damage. And when you're done shooting, you're still locked in animation, so you cannot move for roughly a half to 1 second, which does matter in a game where you can die so quickly and take a ton of damage from enemies. And it makes it difficult to get shots off in that instance. You have visual clutter in the form of muzzle flash, muzzle smoke, and heat dispersion. This makes it very difficult to even get value from the medium pin aspect in killing, let's say, a harvester, because you can't see the freaking joint. It's a small joint you have to hit. That requires precision. Apparently, heat dispersion is just visual blur, and turning it off gives you this crazy experience of being able to see what you're aiming at. And then factor in the recoil being pretty freaking ridiculous and low ergonomics. These are all aspects that maybe make sense to a degree for miniguns. But it's a video game, and them being the way they are is taking away from the potential fun, because then you factor in its medium pin. So all those detrimental factors, where are the upsides? Where is the balance here? It doesn't really exist. It's also got a backpack, so you're losing that slot, which is valuable. It's an important thing to have, because now you have less customization. You can't go hover pack minigun, can't go jetpack minigun, warp pack minigun. These are things that are off the table because you need that backpack to even shoot it in the first place. And then you factor in the ammo count. 750 with all those other factors, meaning you're going to be missing shots. No matter how good you are, you're going to miss a lot more than you should. That ammo count is absurdly low. And the cherry on top is your damage output isn't particularly good, taking you roughly 200 shots to kill a factor strider when you're beneath it, if not more. And the same thing applies to a Bile Titan. And in both cases, you can't move while shooting it, so you have to get the perfect window of opportunity to kill those enemies with a minigun. There is an awesome feature. You don't have a traditional reload. Instead, you resupply yourself, and then you can continue firing pretty much the moment you wind the weapon up again. If a person is giving you ammo from a resupply backpack, you can technically fire infinitely as long as they keep resupplying you. That's pretty cool. There's essentially next to no downtime. Rock Solid, a passive on the Beast of Prey and Constrictor body armors. Increased melee damage by 100%, same as Peak Physique. Bearer is more resistant to being knocked prone. Essentially, it's ragdoll resistant armor, but not everything can be resisted, such as tank blast, factory strider blast, bunker blast. Those will still ragdoll you. But you won't get knocked over from bow spear mortar strikes, baton swings on the ground overseer that has no body cam turned on, boba bushes on the red Crimsica-like planets, and fire hydrants. Those cannot hinder your movement any longer. One of the more interesting uses of the armor passive is taking a ballistic shield or directional shield, probably the latter, and going versus automatons. Now the small rockets will not ragdoll you. Rocket Devastators, Hulk rocket arms, and even the Billy Bob with the RPG. You'll be upright. Before a rocket hits your shield anywhere, you're getting sent to the ground. This will be pretty fun if you're into that kind of stuff. Take a Talon, directional shield, and even a chainsaw and get up to some shenanigans. Now to answer the question, is the Python Commandos Warbond S tier? Now, it would be if minigun wasn't so lackluster, and it'd be even easier if the chainsaw was a primary weapon and didn't scale from medium pin to heavy pin, because the medium pin aspect is just, it's not even noticeable really. Like you hit an enemy, the chainsaw's inside of them, and it's just mowing. It just takes more time to do the damage. You also have the requirement of other warbonds to make this warbond good, whereas there's already warbonds that exist that are great on their own with the items you have in itself. This one relies on different pieces from others. Even in the video so far, I've said hover pack, directional shield. Didn't say Talon, that's an option too. And if you're using the chainsaw sword, or chainsaw, that's a stratagem. And if you're facing the automatons, you need a primary weapon to kill gunships quickly. Most of the weapons that doing that are in warbonds. Accelerator rifle, eruptor, crossbow, purifier. So you have to have other warbonds to make up for a lot of the detrimental aspects of these weapons. I am fairly confident they're going to buff the minigun, probably the chainsaw. I don't know if they're going to change the 1-2, but they might improve ergonomics. When that happens, it will likely be an A to S tier warbond. Until it happens, it's like a B, maybe B+. It's not bad by any means. In fact, the devs did a pretty good job, and I'm impressed by the chainsaw and how it works. Like, that is a freaking fun weapon. They cooked with that one something serious. And also the rock solid armor, initially, I wasn't excited about it, and I was actually kind of pissed. But while making the video, and I was essentially ragging on it something serious, saying they made a problem, then sold a solution, which is kind of true, but I'll explain that a different time. It does feel kind of cool that you can mitigate small rocket fire on automatons. I feel like that's actually a unique aspect. It's not a big deal in the sense of it takes away from the experience. It's cool. It means that you can now use that with directional shield, and that's a combo that feels good. They need to give us the ability to pick perks or pieces of perks and then make our own builds, essentially. Take the ragdoll resist part of rock solid and combine that with explosive resist from a different armor piece. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe to the OhDough for more like it. And I appreciate y'all's time more than you know. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.